Hello and welcome to my 2025 year in review video. Today we're going to go through a load of things from the past year, including my Planet Coaster series, Farleigh Park, which has had a ton of progress this year. Also going to go over my current top 25 coasters, that'll be at the end of the video, so stick around to see that one. And also we'll be going through kind of my favourite videos that I've made this year. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into Planet Coaster. So, looking at the screenshot I have from the end of last year, there's a lot of changes that I've made to Farleigh Park. So, yeah, I think we'll dive straight into it. I'll go over kind of the more major things. There's a few things that I won't show in much detail, so I'm saving those for the next episode, which I'm hoping will be out end of January. So yeah, in terms of kind of the overall, the big changes, this year I completed like this half of Deadwood with the coaster, except for the station building. Yeah, this was a huge project. It took me quite a while to get this done, because I really just had to sit down and get all those rocks, bushes, trees, bits of theming added. Yeah, I absolutely love how it's turned out. It's such a spooky atmosphere in here. You can just about see the coaster flying by. Yeah, absolutely love how that's turned out. I also started planning the Viking area. Not much has really changed there, but the big change is actually right behind it, which is that the hypercoaster is finished. Because you're looking at the start of the year, all I actually had was the first two elements, and I also had the old Airtime Hill profile, which was completely inaccurate, and since then I reprofiled that hill and just completed the layout in general. Well, the custom supports still quite aren't finished. Also completely changed this part of the adventure area. I used to have a Rising Raptor ride at the back here, now I have a Swift Drifters, and I completely themed that in with the queue line, the cover, the theming inside the ride itself, which was a lot of fun to put together. Also a few changes in the city area. I think this was literally right at the start of the year. I built this new facade here in the street, which helps cover up the exit of the Farleigh Flyer. There's also been just so many changes just in general to the inside section here. There's a new part of the queue, just basically loads of stuff happened with the Farleigh Flyer this year, from finishing the layout to all the station stuff, the queue line stuff. Yeah, that's probably kind of the biggest thing I worked on this year, was doing stuff with the Farleigh Flyer. I also did all the theming around the adventure area. I had the dive coaster pretty much done, but I completed the entrance around here, and I also themed up the other flat ride in the area, which is called Zephyr, and also did all the various buildings, bits of theming, all the nature stuff. So yeah, really happy with how that has all turned out this year. I've also added a new building to Main Street, which was the locker building around here, and yeah, I'm hoping this year I'm going to get maybe a bit more progress on Main Street. I'd love to finish it, but there's a lot of buildings to do here, and so I'm kind of doing it when I get some inspiration for something. And finally, there is of course the steampunk area. I'll go into detail more into all the changes that I've made here in the next episode, but literally none of this existed at the start of the year. I just had an outline and a coaster station, and now look at it. I've got theming, all these facades, this bridge that I literally made the day I'm recording this video. Got all the coal, most of the RMC's layout. The flat ride's in now. It used to be over here in the maintenance area, if you remember that. And there's loads of changes in general here. Still isn't quite finished when it comes to the layout, and of course there's loads of theming work that needs to be done. But I'm so happy with how this is starting to come together. I was literally avoiding it because I had no idea what I was going to do. And I'm quite happy that I've started on it, because I'm absolutely loving the process of putting this all together. As I mentioned, there'll be more stuff in the new episode, which will probably be towards the end of January. So yeah, I'll show you the bridge though, because I'm really happy with how that's turned out. And the final change is more about the resort, which was the fact that I moved the hotel from right next to the steampunk area over here. But I think, apart from the car park also getting some work done, that's all the changes I made to Farleigh Park this year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at kind of all the smaller things, for example, I've added in locker locations around the park now. There's just loads of small changes on top of kind of the larger projects in the park, which probably this year would have been the Farleigh Flyer and the Steampunk Land. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the amount of progress I've done this year. Obviously, I also got all the trees around the back. I'm hoping for the next episode I will continue that around this side, which will almost actually close off the trees around the park, which will be really cool. So yeah, I'll go into a lot more detail over kind of the progress that I've made on the park recently in the next episode, but just looking at last year to now, I've actually made quite a lot of progress, and I'm really happy to see if, maybe I'll finish it next year, who knows. There is still quite a bit of work to be done here, and it all depends on how much time I can put into the project, but I'm hoping to get, if not completing it, quite close to completing it this time next year. So next up, I want to go through my top 5 videos of the year, and this is based on not just kind of how I thought the video came out, but in terms of just actually recording them. At number 5 is going to be behind the scenes of Vampire. This was my first ever VIP experience at a park, and it was just so much fun. Like starting off with Tomb Blaster, walking around there, then being in the Vampire station with all the lights on, getting to talk with John Wardley just about the ride in general was so much fun. And then of course getting to walk around in the ride area. So yeah, had an absolute blast creating the video. At number 4 is Roller Coaster, which is my most successful video ever, currently at 34,000 views, which I still can't quite wrap my head around, but yeah, what a project that was. The whole build process was so much fun apart from the custom supporting, and overall just really happy that people seem to really enjoy the video. At number 3 is update 5 of Project Play. This is by far one of the most fun days I've had at a park. Finally getting to see Roller Coaster Track before its installation, and being one of the first people to kind of make a video about it on YouTube. I think maybe 1 or 2 people got there before me, but yeah, had so much fun getting to walk around the staging area there and seeing all this coaster track, which has of course now been installed. But yeah, so much fun just walking around the staging area and creating that video. At number 2 is my other Planet Coaster 2 project of the year, Wyvern. Just one of, I think it's probably my favourite like roller coaster I've built in the game at the moment. I think 10 inversions, loads of airtime. Yeah, and of course when it came to editing, I spent a very long time on it, and I'm so happy with how that video turned out. So yeah, that's my second favourite video of the year. And number 1 is the 3rd episode in my Lego Park renovation series, which is all about creating the main street. And again, I just had an absolute blast over the 2 weeks that I spent on that video. And also every single part was just so much fun to make, and I think it turned out really well, just from the video itself to the thumbnail. So the progress on the Lego Park, just so much fun in general there. So yeah, those are my top 5 videos of the year. Had an absolute blast creating all of them. But without further ado, let's get straight into my top 25 roller coasters as of December 31st, 2025. So I'm going to go through the first 15 of these fairly quickly, and then my top 10 I'll go into a bit more depth about each coaster. So starting at 25 is Dragon's Cherry at Chessington, the only non-extreme spinning coaster that I've come off of a ride and actually felt dizzy, which is quite something. At number 24, controversial one, is the Smiler at Alton Towers. Just watch my Scarefest vlog from this year, you'll understand exactly why I have it this low. Yeah, that Cobra roll is way too rough for me to enjoy it. At 23 is the Smiler's neighbour Oblivion. Smooth. As a night ride it's awesome, and I could just ride that thing all day, it's so much fun. At 22 is Vampire. If you know me on Discord, I absolutely love Vampire. Only reason it's this low is because I think it's a family coaster, but if it was a thrill coaster it'd be way higher. Night rides in Vampire are amazing. I'm currently on like 74 rides, it's by far my most ridden coaster. At 21 is Fly at Phantasialand. Quite low because I actually think the layout's pretty boring, and most people rank it highly because of the theming, and that's not how I rank my coasters. At 20 is Taron at Phantasialand, probably the most controversial one on this list. It was just nothing really, lots of turns, all the airtime is killed by a trim brake, so yeah, just an absolute nothing for me. At 19 is Colorado Adventure, again at Phantasialand. The opposite of Taron, no expectations going in, and wow, was that quite an out of control ride. With just a lap bar as well, it was unbelievable. At 18 is Heidi the Ride at Plopsaland, Belgium. Small GCIs are so much fun. It's like the 5-row trains, the way they just have all that airtime is absolutely love that ride. At 17 is Wild Mouse XXL, which is the travelling coaster. And yeah, if you've ever been on it and you know what it's like to ride it with no trims, you'll know exactly why I have it so high. It is like completely out of control. At 16 is Nemesis Inferno at Thorpe Park. Quite an inconsistent one. When it is riding good, it's really fun, but on the opposite side of the token, when it rides bad, it's not very fun at all. At 15 is Anubis the Ride at Plopsaland, Belgium. That launch blew me away, and then some of the airtime on that was so much fun. At 14 is my favourite coaster at Phantasialand, Black Mamba. Wow, I was not expecting how much I was going to enjoy this ride. With all the terrain like Nemesis, really kind of elevates its inverts. So much fun. All the theming, again, is incredible at Phantasialand. At 13 is Stealth at Thorpe Park. If it did a bit more after the launch, it would definitely be higher, but it's this high because of that launch, which is unbelievably cool. At 12 is Bluefire at Europa Park, which is mostly there because you go through the whole thing, not much happens, and then you hit that barrel roll, which just tries to throw you out of seat. I was not expecting it at all, was completely blown away by it. At number 11 is Wicker Man at Alton Towers, and this would be higher if it ran as well as it did at Scarefest right at the end of the day, throughout the entire day, because those night rides are always incredible, but if you get it in the morning, you don't quite get the same feeling. So yeah, into the top 10 now, starting with Olympia Looping, another travelling coaster, because this is the only ride that makes me grey out on every single time that I've been on it, which is I think 5 or 6 times now. Yeah, absolutely love this ride. The 5 loops is so cool, and the whole thing could travel around and stay as smooth as it is. It's just amazing. At number 9 is the Swarm at Thorpe Park. Still one of the smoothest coasters in the country. Quite forceful, especially on quite a warm day, especially going around that helix over the water. So much fun, and the wing over drop in the front row is awesome. At number 8 is Osiris at Park Asterix. Again, I love a good B&M invert, and Osiris was so much fun. There was that weird bit right before, I think it's the Immelman, where it finishes the element before it kind of dips down for like a brief moment, which is a bit bizarre, but everything else about that ride is so cool, especially the queue line. I really liked Osiris's queue line. At 7 is Woden at Europa Park, the best wooden coaster I've ever been on. So much fun, the pacing is unbelievable on that ride, and yeah, just what a wooden coaster that is. GCI made something really special there. At number 6 is Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers, and I grouped this together with the original Nemesis. Yeah, the theming, the terrain, the layout is so good. If you get a back row ride at night, it's unbelievable. As is a front row ride at night, because when you kind of can't see anything in front of you, you've got all the rocks, it's so cool. At 5 is Tutatis at Park Asterix. This is again a really fun one. I think it would actually be at the number 4 spot if I could get more rides on it, but I visited on quite a busy day, and the queue was like an hour for the entire day, so I only managed to get 2 rides on it. Also, what is going on with the single rider policy on this ride? But the layout itself is awesome. Of course, it's intimate, it's smooth. First switch track I ever did, and it was really fun, especially launching backwards up a spike. And the whole layout is awesome, especially with the stall. There's a really fast barrel roll, which almost broke my wrist. And of course, the finale on that ride is so much fun. And number 4 is Hyperia at Thorpe Park. I can't get over that first drop every single time. It's so good. Now, the rest of the layout is just, every single element is perfect. There's so much airtime on them. I think right now the most forceful one is actually the outer bank right after the trim break. You know, of course we could all wish it was longer, but I think we've got an awesome coaster there. Just pure airtime from start to finish pretty much. You're out of your seat for half of the ride, which is unbelievable. Right, into the top 3 now, starting off with Conda at Wallaby, Belgium. This was really hard, this versus Hyperia, but I think Conda just edges it out because of how much more airtime it has. I remember when the POV first dropped for it, and it kind of showed some ridiculous airtime stats. I thought, no way. And then I've ridden it, and I'm like, wow, there's some pretty strong airtime. So much fun. Non-inverting cobra roll is really such a weird element. It doesn't look like it should work, but it does. And just everything else about that ride is so much fun. So yeah, more intimate blitzes, please. At number 2 is Ride to Happiness at Plopsaland, Belgium. This would be number 1 if it wasn't for the one front row ride that actually made me feel really sick, because that kind of brought it down a bit. But that ride is just complete chaos from start to finish, with the spinning, all the different elements. It's just completely ridiculous, and especially with like the music and everything on board the trains, I was just completely blown away. Everyone hypes it up to be so good, and it still managed to exceed my expectations. And so finally, my number 1 coaster, you probably guessed it already, is Voltron at Europa Park. I mean, yeah, even on the so-called rough trains, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I mean, what a layout. Such a long layout, so many elements, so many inversions, airtime. And I think really it's number one because of that like minus 1.7 G hill. 10 rides on it, and every single time I forgot just how powerful the airtime was on that hill. Just an unbelievable coaster. So yeah, that is my top 25 as of December 31st, 2025. Will that change next year? Probably not, unless I get some kind of surprise theme park trips. Haven't got anything big planned at the moment. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. That's been my 2025 year in review, and I'll see you next year. Goodbye.